This is the DJI Mic 3, DJI newest wireless system, and it's packed with features that makes it stand out for creators. It's tiny and light, yet offers 32-bit float recording, dual file backup, timecode integration, and adaptive gain control to automatically balance audio levels. You get free voice tone presets, dual level noise cancellation, and lossless audio transmission, all designed to keep your recordings clean in any environment. It supports up to 4 transmitters connecting to a single receiver and syncing up to 8 additional receivers, making it perfect for multi-person shoots. It also connects seamlessly to DJI cameras like the Osmo Pocket 3, Action 5 Pro, Osmo 360 and Osmo Nano. And you're probably wondering if it actually sounds any good. Well, you tell me. You just listened to the audio recorded internally on the DJI Mic 3. And yes, there's one controversial change, which is no 3.5mm input for lav mic. But is it a deal breaker or a clever move for modern workflows? Stick around till the end. We'll go through every part of the system, test its performance, and see how the DJI Mic 3 really works. And just a quick disclaimer, I bought the product myself, so the video is not sponsored by DJI, and I'll give you my independent opinion. It is actually sponsored by Lexar, but more about that later. Everything comes in this carrying case, and I really like this case because we can put some extra things in it. Let's open it up and see what's inside. We have the DJI mics, but we're gonna come back to this. I have 2 extra windscreens in there. The USB-C to USB-C cable, and I also have my camera adapter, but I'm gonna talk about it in a second. Now let's move to the charging case, and we actually have the indicator lights here and the latch to open the box on the front. On the top we just have a DJI logo and a Mic 3 to know that this is the Mic 3. On the back of the case we have the hinge and the USB-C port. And on the bottom, as you can see, there is like 2 rubber feet and some info about the mics. So when we open it up, it's actually where the magic happens. As you can see, when we open it up, you have the magnet and there is space for another magnet in there. You have the cable, which is super nice that this actually fits inside of the case. We have 2 transmitters. One of them is actually here because it's recording this video. And we have a receiver, and everything fits in the case, and I really love that because I don't need to take the carrying case with me. I just have everything that I need for recording in the charging case. And the charging case itself extends the battery life of the whole setup by 28 hours, which is 2.4 full charges of the whole setup, which is quite insane considering how small the whole setup is. The charging case takes about 50 minutes to recharge, which is really quick to be fair. But if we want to be even quicker, we can charge 5 minutes for 2 hours of use time, which is quite insane in my opinion. So we move on to the transmitter itself, and this thing is tiny. You can see it's just over here recording the audio for this video, and you can hear the audio from the transmitter, but it is really tiny and it weighs only 16 grams with the magnetic clip on the back attached. And it is so small because we lose in the USB-C port and we lose in the 3.5mm jack, and that's how they were able to make it so small. It has a built-in omnidirectional microphone on the top. On the side we have the recording and pairing button for the transmitter. We have the power light, which will also change to pairing light, or it will show us if we have the noise cancellation on. And then on the other side we have the recording light, which will light up red when we recording on device. On the bottom we have the charging pins and the transfer pins, so this is gonna work for transferring the files in the case or in the charging cable, and also for charging. Then on the back we have the magnetic clip, which we can attach our mic to the clothing, and we can actually rotate it this time around, so then we can use the mic in the right direction to point at our subject or our mouth when we're talking to it. And then we can also remove it and just use the magnet, and this is actually helping quite a lot with not sagging on a t-shirt as much as it would do with the clip attached. It supports 24 or 32-bit float internal recording. It has a 32 gigabytes of storage built in this little guy, which is pretty insane. About 20 hours for dual recording and 40 to 57 hours for a single backup recording. The other thing that is quite insane is the fact that this has 8 hours of battery life. It's so tiny, but still 8 hours of battery life. That's crazy. But you're probably thinking, okay, yes, it's crazy. It has a good battery life. It has a lot of storage. It has a lot of functions. But what's the point if it doesn't have 3.5mm jack? And I'm here to tell you that I don't think that is an issue. I think those are basically gonna replace lav mics. I think people are just gonna start using those instead of lav mics. I actually work in a social media agency and we use the DJI mics, the first version, quite a lot without any lav mics or anything like that. Most of the times we actually see the mic and someone speaks to the mic like this. If we want to really hide the mic, that's where we just hide it under the t-shirt and just use the included magnets. And obviously those being so much smaller gonna make this whole process even easier. So in my opinion, because they are so convenient, they're just gonna replace lav mics. Obviously not for like professional shoots, but for loads of like social media content, lots of like YouTube videos, TikToks, Instagram reels, they just replace the lav mics. So when you're wondering why you see those a lot on content you're watching, remember I told you this is going to be the case. They also have adaptive gain control, vocal presets, and also 2 levels of noise cancellation. And then you have dual file recording, so you can record one safety backup for just the raw audio without any settings applied, and then the second file will have the settings that you will choose applied. So this is pretty nice because you can apply that like voice profile and noise cancellations to one file and then have a clean file without anything applied. And I think this is really nice to have. You can get just the transmitter itself if you want to use it with your DJI camera through DJI Osmo Audio. You can connect it without the receiver to the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, Osmo Action 5 Pro, Osmo 360 or Osmo Nano, which is super useful, and this is working really well with these cameras. You can also directly connect it to your phone via Bluetooth, but then you can't use the native camera app. You need to use the third-party camera app that will let you choose the mic you're gonna record on. And you can also connect it to the DJI Mimo app through Bluetooth and change all the settings that they have and be able to still use the modes that they include, even when you're using them without the receiver on your phone or DJI camera. So now let's hear how they actually sound with all different modes and also compared to some other mics I'm using. So I'm gonna do the test of 3 mics I actually have, which is the Sennheiser Profile Wireless, DJI Mic 2 and a DJI Mic 3. I'm on the top of the apartment building, so there is some like helicopter sounds, there's some planes going by, some train sounds from the street, some road noise, and there's also some wind. It's quite windy today, so hopefully that will give you an idea of how they sound when it comes to comparing the 3 mics. So this is the audio sample from the DJI Mic 3, this is the audio sample from the DJI Mic 2, and this is the audio sample from the Sennheiser Profile Wireless. Hopefully that will give you an idea. This is the audio sample without the noise cancellation on. This is the audio sample with the noise cancellation set to basic, and this is the audio sample with the noise cancellation set to strong. This is the regular voice preset and this is how it sounds. This is the rich voice preset and this is how it sounds. And this is the bright voice tone preset and this is how it sounds. Let me know what you think. A quick pause while I'll tell you about something that changed my workflow lately. The Lexar ES5 magnetic portable SSD 2TB version, generously sponsored by Lexar. So what makes the ES5 stand out? First off, blazing speeds. It's rated for up to 2000 megabytes per second read and write via the USB 3.2 Gen 2 X2. That means moving or editing large 4K or even 8K files is no longer a chore. You get near instant transfers. One of my favorite features is the built-in MagSafe, and thanks to that, on the iPhones that support MagSafe, we can literally just stick the drive to the back of the phone with the MagSafe and it just stays there. Then we just plug in the cable and we're good to go. It supports direct recording, so you can shoot Apple ProRes or ProRes RAW in 4K or Samsung Pro Video straight through the drive, bypassing the phone internal storage limits. If you shoot a lot of video on your phone, that alone is a game changer. The ES5 is also built tough. It has an IP65 rating for dust and water resistance, and it's drop rated for up to 3 meters. Lexar designed it with a silicone shell, and it comes with a cable organizer and lanyard, so it's practical in the field. And in case you're wondering about compatibility, it works with laptops, phones, tablets, cameras, consoles, all through USB-C. The Lexar app on iOS or Android also supports automatic photo and video backups, which is super handy when you're traveling or shooting a lot. In short, for creators, mobile videographers, or anyone working with heavy media on the go, the Lexar ES5 2TB gives you a sweet combo of speed, flexibility, and durability. If you want to check the price or grab one for yourself, I'll drop a link in the description. Big thanks to Lexar for supporting this channel. Now, back to the content. And then we move on to the receiver, which has a really nice touchscreen, OLED screen on the front, and also dials, so we can change the settings on the screen if we don't want to use the touch screen, which is really nice to have these two options. On the side we have the power or back button and that lock button for our adapter, so when we press that button we can get our adapter out, and if we don't press it we can't get the adapter out, which is quite nice safety thing. So when we recording on the phone or with the camera adapter, we know that this is not going to disconnect by itself, but we need to press the button to actually disconnect it. So yeah, really nice here. We have the USB-C port and the charging pins for the charging case. And then on the side, we have the headphone input and the camera output, which is 3.5mm jack. And then on the bottom, we have the cold shoe or hot shoe mount. So we can just slide it into cold shoe on our camera or a cage or anything like that. And the battery life on the receiver is 10 hours, which is even more than on the transmitter, which was 8 hours. So yeah, we can connect it to the camera via TRS output. We can connect it to a laptop or smartphone via USB-C, or we can buy a separate adapter, which is for the older Apple devices, which is Lightning. And then we can use that USB-C also to use our camera adapter and then connect USB-C into there and then go into Sony multi-interface hot shoe and connect it straight into the camera, which will give us digital audio input, and we will be able to record 24-bit into the camera, which is higher quality than when we go through the cable. And when we're using it with the Sony camera like this, the screen flips because then it will recognize the camera, and it also charges the receiver, which is super nice because then we basically don't need to worry about the battery life on our receiver. And then swiping down on the screen, we can find all the functions of the DJI Mic in here and change them. So if we go into receiver setting, we can change the mode from mono to stereo to quadraphonic, which will give us this info over here. And that quadraphonic mode would basically allow us to connect up to 4 transmitters to one receiver, which is new feature as well, and it's insane that we can do 4 mics into one receiver, and I really like that, and I definitely will be getting 2 extra receivers to use that because I record in situations where I need 4 receivers going into the camera. And then when we're using the Sony adapter for the hot shoe, we can just send 4 channels of audio straight into the camera on 24-bit. So this is really good, and then we don't need to do any additional syncing and post or anything like that. It's just all there. We can change audio monitoring settings, so just the audio levels on the headphones. We can go into gain and change the gain of our microphone. We can decide if we want to use the lossless audio, which will give us 24-bit transmission for the Sony adapter when we're using it. This, however, decreases the range from 400 meters to 200 meters, I believe, so keep that in mind. I still prefer to use this because I never ever shoot 400 meters away from the camera, and I like high quality audio. We can select if we want to use auto on off with camera. I have it on, and that will mean that if we have the receiver plugged into the camera with the cable or with the Sony adapter, the mic will switch off when we switch off the camera and will switch on when we switch on the camera. Pretty handy for me. We can adjust if we want the auto off on. I have it on. That means that if I don't use the mic and I leave it on, it will turn off automatically after some time. And then we can choose the environment, and that will basically ask us if we are indoor or outdoor, and this will basically make sure that it works well in the environment we choose. And we can actually make the mic ask us about it every time when we power it on, and I have that on because I find it really useful. And then we can go into transmitter settings, we can go into low cut filter, I have it on off. We can go into gain here and change the gain for each of our transmitters, and as you can see we have up to 4 here. We can select if we want to use the adaptive gain control. I have it off at the moment, but we can turn it on, and then we have the automatic settings, which will be very good for anything filming outdoor, and a lot of changes when it comes to the volume of the audio we're gonna be recording. Or we can change it to dynamic, and that would be more for like a studio settings like I'm in right now, and this will be able to deal with it bit better than the automatic setting. I'm going to switch it off because I'm recording at the moment. Then we have the 32-bit float recording. Obviously I can't change it right now because I'm recording in 32-bit float on the mic that I have on me. The next one is the file options, where we can just have the original file or the original file and the edited file, which I was talking about. So that will mean that we can have 2 recordings as a backup, one with just original audio, nothing added to it, and then another one with all the edits like vocal preset or noise cancellation. And I actually want to have both. Startup audio recording, where we can just make the mic start recording when we turn them on. I don't want this. Low power audio recording, that will help us start recording when the receiver is running out of the battery or the DJI camera is running out of battery. It will keep recording on the transmitter. Loop recording, which will give us an option of recording over the oldest files that are on transmitters. So if we just recording for backup, we don't need to format it every so often. We can just override the files that are the oldest files on the transmitter, which I find it really useful as well, because I usually just record on those mics as a backup and I don't want to deal with formatting it. I can just set this setting on loop recording and then I don't run out of space. Basically, it will just override the files that are the oldest files on the mic. Storage will show us the storage available still on the mics, which you can see that I'm recording on the TX1 and I have 19.9 hours still left. Audio recording via button. Obviously that means that we can start recording with the button on the mic. Noise cancellation via button, that means that if we have that on, we can double press on the record button and that will activate the noise cancellation. Vibration, where we basically have like a vibration feedback when we start the recording or when we change any setting on the mic. I like to have it on, but if I'm recording somebody else, then I will probably switch it off because I don't want to buzz them every time I start recording on the mic. LED indicators, as you can see, I have them on at the moment and I can switch them off as well. That makes the mic a bit more discreet, but I don't really mind if they are on or off. But again, if I want to switch it off, I like the fact that we have that option over here. And then another option is the transmitter auto off, which when we basically have on, it will make sure that will automatically turn itself off when not in use. Then we have device linking, where we can just add additional transmitters or receivers or groups. I'm not gonna go deep into that, but basically this is our menu for linking other devices to our system. Device management is just showing us the info about all the devices we have connected, about the receiver and the transmitters. Timecode is another thing that we have included here, and timecode is going to be very useful for when we actually shooting on multiple cameras with multiple mics, because that will let us sync our audio via timecode. So basically all the devices that are going to be connected with timecode gonna have the same time in the metadata of the file, the video file, and then when we sync in them in the post-production, we can basically just use timecode to do that, and that's gonna really help us to sync our audio in multicam setups, save us a lot of time. There is only a shift of 1 frame in 24 hours, so we should be good for timecode on the DJI Mic 3. I'm not gonna go into deep on this one here, but I will probably make a separate video about it soon, so follow if you want to watch it. Then we have connect to app, where we can actually connect the receiver to the app remotely without plugging it into the smartphone. So this is really nice because then we can change all the settings on the receiver in the app. And then we have general, where we have brightness, we have language, we have date and time, factory reset, version, and compliance info. But one other thing we can do on the receiver, on the screen, we can tap into the transmitter. So I will tap in the transmitter too, and then we can change the settings for that transmitter. So we can start recording or stop recording, we can mute it, and then we can also change the noise cancellation. So this is basic noise cancellation, and this is strong noise cancellation or off. And then we can also change the voice preset. So it's regular, rich, or bright. And then those gonna affect how our voice sound. But you've already heard how to sound, but I'm just showing you where to change the settings for it. And then when we swipe from the bottom of the screen, we can start recording on all the devices or change the noise cancellation on all the devices connected to the receiver. So yeah, there's a lot going on with the DJI Mic 3, and there's a lot of new pro features included into this. So who is it for? For sure, the social media creators, everybody who's making content for YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, or any other platform that needs good audio. Vloggers, really nice to use with the DJI Pocket 3 for vlogs, or Osmo Action 5 Pro, or Osmo Nano, or Osmo 360. Really good. Really small. Makes my setup with the DJI Pocket 3 even smaller. But I think also for anyone who wants a really quick setup for interviews or events, where you just really need to quickly put a mic on someone and get a good audio. And I think you can really easily hide those mics, maybe stick on like black gaffer tape on the front and just have the box over there. And I think this is actually comparable to just having a lav mic visible, but also it's really easy to hide under t-shirt, under shirt, or anything like that with the magnets. So I think this is a really good setup for anyone who wants the simplicity of it, but also wants to go a bit above that simplicity sometimes. I know I will be using it a lot for my content and all the content I create for my clients. I will still be keeping one of the systems that allow me to plug in the lav mics if I need those, but to be fair, most likely I'll be using those 90% of the time. And to be honest, when it comes to not having that mic input on this, I wouldn't be surprised if DJI will come out with like a pro version of that will have the mic input, or maybe they can use an adapter for the pins, which they already have the adapter for transferring the files and charging the device, and maybe that would be the way to connect the lav mic into that transmitter. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if they will have something coming out. I think Holyland done something similar. I think they've done like an adapter to be able to connect the lav mic to something that wasn't able to take in the lav mic. So I don't know if the DJI is going to do the same, or if they will release a pro version or something like that that will have it. I wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, this is everything that I had to say about this little guy, DJI Mic 3. I think I've said everything. If I missed something, let me know in the comments. Also tell me what you think about those in the comments. And if you want to check those out, I will leave the links in the description. There will be affiliate links. So if you buy anything from them, you will help this channel grow and you won't pay anything extra. Anyway, this is everything. Thanks for watching. I hope I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Bye.